All right, welcome everyone again.
Oh,
Good
sorry.
morning. It was wonderful to see all those 60 covers of the beautiful books that were created along with that music. I felt very inspired and extra hopeful now this morning. So I'm Cassandra Kaichis with Sacramento Public Library, the library applicant for this LSTA project. So we'll get started.
You guys seeing my slide okay?
We are still
No.
seeing the old show.
Okay, thank you.
And we have all of our wonderful project consultants with us here this morning who will tell you more about
And
this
while we're waiting,
great project.
while we're waiting, how many people either wrote a book or their staff members of their team or tutors wrote a book? Because Sacramento,
Tutors.
I know Santa Clara, San Diego.
We had a couple of tutors right for us.
Oh, good. Excellent. So we appreciate everybody spreading the word. We could not have done this without all the authors. So it was a village moment for sure.
So are we now seeing my slides okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So of course, please mute yourself unless we are in a discussion, activity, or Q&A time. Please use the chat feature when asking or answering questions. And we will ask you to use reaction buttons to answer a few questions. So make sure you've identified that. This project is supported in part by the U.S. Institute of Museum and Library Services under the provisions of the Library Services and Technology Act, administered in California by the state librarian. So this is to introduce our three core project consultants, Kathy St. John, Marilyn DePel, Lisa Thompson, and you can see the extensive experience and skills they bring to this project. So we'd like to know a little bit more about what is your interest in the new books. Please enter in the chat number 1, 2, or 3. 1, I'm a librarian. 2, I am on the literacy staff. Or 3, I am a tutor or work with a learner.
Okay, thank you, Cassandra. And I'm going to just introduce today's agenda while my teammates tally those scores. I think it's going to be overwhelmingly number 2, but maybe some staff members tutor as well. So today we're going to pack a lot in. We are very, very excited to tell you about the books and about the project as a whole and how it came about and its purpose and how you can actually access the books for free online and then also in print for purchase. We're going to do a little teeny bit of a review so that you can get a taste for the books in addition to just seeing their covers, which we hope gave you a really good idea of the wide array of topics that authors wrote about. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the ways that tutors, learners, staff members can use the books in your program, and also just to have them as part of a circulating collection in your library. And then Marilyn will talk about how each book has tutor tips and why those are useful for tutors and staff. And then hopefully we'll have time to hear from you how you think you might be able to use these books in your library and in your program. But if we don't, we will just ask you to reflect on that. All right, do we have a tally?
Yes, I have 8 library literacy staff people tallied.
All right.
I have one librarian and 3 tutors, or people who work with learners.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much. So why is there a need for these books, these photo books? Well, we looked at the field and there are very, very few, and I'm sure you know this, literacy staff, there are very few fiction and nonfiction pleasure reading materials. This is not, workbooks and instructional materials, but pleasure reading books that are written for intermediate level learners at Fry reading levels 3 to 4. And for the past 5 years, there have only been a few dozen books that are published for low intermediate adult readers, and most of those are nonfiction chapter books, and they really don't have many photos. And we'll talk about why photos, Lisa will talk about why photos are so important for comprehension. And none are photo books, and they don't address the same wide variety of pleasure reading topics that you saw in the slides showing all of the different covers. So this is the third phase of a project that actually was originally the brainchild of Read Santa Clara in the city of Santa Clara. And they had some extra money at the end of the year, and they thought, what is the best way for us to use this? What is a really pressing need for our adult learners? And they identified that they really, did not have as many fiction and nonfiction pleasure reading books in their collection written for low to intermediate level learners that they would like to offer. And so they said, you know what, let's write some. And I should actually be having Karen Masada tell this because she was the one that was instrumental in bringing this project to life. And so they put it out to their tutors and their learner, and they wrote 21 books in a very short period of time. And they are just wonderful, colorful, interesting books that include real life situations, and the text is very accessible. They've got wonderful illustrations, and we also are promoting these books because they're so great. So they will be available with a link on the CLLS website, and we will give you the links so you can see them for free and purchase them in print from Mixbook, our on-demand printer. So when I saw these books, I was so impressed, and I said, this is amazing. Wow, we need more of these. And I loved the model of having tutors and learners and staff create these books, because who knows adult literacy better, and who knows what is of interest to read. And so I recruited Marilyn to work on the project and asked Cassandra if she thought that the Sacramento Public Library might like to be the applicant for federal funding from the Library Services and Technology Act from the state library. And the Sacramento Public Library said yes, a resounding yes. And so phase 2 of the project began in 2021. And so we surveyed low-level readers from across California. We asked them what they wanted to read about. And then we recruited 77 tutors, learners, and staff from programs across California. And we wrote 108 low-level books. So at levels 1 and 2 on the Fry Index. All of these books have tutor tips. The Read Santa Clara books, some of them have tutor tips, some of them don't, but all of the phase 2 and phase 3 books do. And these books are available for online for free on ProLiteracy's Education Network, and Marilyn's going to tell you more about that. And they're also available to view for free online or to purchase in print at Mixbook. And we'll tell you more about that later. So this latest phase, and probably the final phase, is that we got such positive feedback from the field, and they said, we want more of these books, and how about writing them at a higher level? And so once again, Sacramento Public Library applied for an LSTA grant, and we surveyed intermediate level learners, asked them what they wanted to read about, asked them for feedback on the low level books. And this time, because we realized how much work it is, we actually limited the number of books to 60. And so 59 tutors, learners and staff from 18 programs across California. Carrie Scott from formerly of Carlsbad wrote 2 books. So, and these are at levels 3 and 4 on the Fry Index. And as the others, they all have tutor tips and they're available online or in print. So again, we wanted it was very important to us for both phases of the project that we not assume what learners wanted to read about, that we really asked the readers at the appropriate level, what do you want to read about? So this time we surveyed 25 learners from different programs, and we asked them to read the low-level books. We asked them what they wanted to read about, and then we asked for their feedback. And so we said, do you like the subject matter? Do you like the genres? Is the level of writing good? Is it a little too low for you? Would you be able to read something a bit higher? Okay. And their feedback was very helpful to us. So they thought that the pictures really helped them understand the text. They thought that the photo aspect of the books was very important. They felt that the text itself was very accessible and really allowed them to do some independent reading, especially once they'd worked with some books with their learners. They thought that the topics were really interesting. Some of people said, "Oh, I'd like to read this again, and I'd like to read similar books." And we said, "What would you like to change? What should be different?" And they said, "Really nothing, except we'd like longer books because we'd like to hear more of the story." They did say that they were really sensitive to disparities in people's experiences. And so we were very careful in the books. If somebody was taking a trip, we said, please don't show that you're staying in fancy pants hotels and eating at extravagant restaurants. So we did try to pay attention to that in the books. I'll turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you, Kathy. Good morning, everybody. I am Lisa, one of the consultants on the project, and I have met some of you before when we worked on the amazing AmeriCorps literacy project together. But I'm also on this project, and I wanted to ask you all here, what topics or genres do you think that the learners who were surveyed said that they wanted to read about in this new collection? And if you could put your ideas into the chat box, that would be very interesting for us to see. Gardening, exactly. That's a good one. Anybody else have ideas? Learning, travel, inspiration, travel. Pets? Oh, yes. Even adults want to read about pets and animals since they're such a large part of our lives. Cooking and nutrition? Great. Health and well-being? Yes, very important topic for adults. All right. Well, here were the answers that they gave us. They wanted to read about important people through biographies and autobiographies, geography, immigrant stories, outdoor activities. Like we said before, health and nutrition is a very popular topic for adults. Action and adventure. I know I love reading books about action and adventure. Parenting, animals and pets, sports, science fiction, job-related, mystery and detective stories, so that's a very popular genre, fantasy, fiction, and suspense and thrillers. So these are all very adult topics. And the point is that these books, while written at the Fry level 3 and 4, they needed to be about adult topics that would engage adults and keep them interested in wanting to read the books. So here's a sample of some of the books that were written. These are in alphabetical order. So they list the first few books that we did have in the collection that you saw in the slideshow. And that you can see that they do represent a real wide variety of topics. Travel, obviously very important, but we even had a poetry book written at the Fry level 3 and 4. There were books right here, A Morning at the Clinic about health and nutrition, immigrant stories with the Japanese internment story, more travel, New York City, Alaska. We went to Turkey. We went for a walk in the redwoods, got outside in nature. A visit to the art museum is one of the most beautiful books that we produce because we were able to use actual art from the art museum represented in the book. We got to see beautiful representations of sculptures, paintings, all sorts of different art. And it ended up being an absolutely gorgeous book. So we did 60 books, like we said, and using those topics of interest that they told us they wanted to see. Now, the most important thing, as Kathy explained earlier, is that these are photo books, and the photo books allow learners who are learning how to read understand more about what the text is on the page. By looking at the books, you can activate background knowledge, and then they can guess at some of what, sound out the words and figure out what some of the text is that might be something that they hadn't seen before. And the photos also create interest. Like I said, with the art museum book, just looking at a beautiful famous painting would create interest in the reader to be able to learn more about that topic. And that provides opportunities for discussion about the books before you read them to sort of set them up for success. And then afterwards, doing some of the activities that are suggested in the tutor tips in the back, which help ingrain the knowledge into the learner. The photos that we selected were either provided by the author as part of their story, or they were not, and we used stock photography and historical sources to source those photos that would match up with the text. And it was really important that the photos did accurately represent what was in the text to help the learner read the page. So we were very selective with the stock photography that we used and very selective with the historical photos that we used. I will say that I had spent hours and hours and hours on certain books because we wanted it to match so closely. And also because I fell in love with going down a wormhole on a certain topic, let's say, and I went in deep on the internet to research historical photos for some of the books that were written. And I learned a tremendous amount by doing this project. And I loved it really working on sourcing the photography for some of these books. And Marilyn also did that too. And it was just a great part of working on this project, because when you see the books come together and you see the photography on the pages matching up with the text that was provided by the author, it really creates a beautiful book, and it's a nice synthesis. So again, the photos are such an important part of this book because they will provide the context and the clues to help learners understand the vocabulary. And we also asked our learners in the, our tutors who were writing the books, that they try to provide, if they were providing photography, as diverse photography as they could. We wanted to represent all types of people, of all ages, all backgrounds, all capabilities. We wanted to make the books as diverse as possible because they are going to be read across the United States, but also all over the world. They will be available. So we want people to be able to relate to the subjects that these books are about. And I think we did a really good job of showing that diversity and bringing, and the authors did a great job of bringing the ideas for the books that represent that diversity that we were aiming for.
Absolutely. So I'm sorry, Lisa, go ahead. I jumped in.
That's okay.
No.
To talk further about how we make photography the sort of central part of these photo books was to use photos, like I said, that represent what the text is representing. So looking at the cover of this book, what does this photo make you think about? And what do you think this book might be about? That is something we would ask our learner before we opened the book to sort of start their imagination going about what the book could be about. And so looking at this, and if you couldn't necessarily know off the bat the word handbag or journey, you might have suggestions about oh, it's a woman outside, sitting outside in a park. She's next to her purse. But then when they figure out what the title is, it piques interest in, oh, this handbag is going on a journey. And not many books are about a handbag going on a journey. And we hope that it solicits interest in the reader in going further and deeper into the book.
Yes. And along with the photos, we worked extremely hard to make sure that the level of the text was really accessible and within the range of the Fry level 3 and 4. And we found that this was much more challenging than we thought it would be when we started the project. But the first thing we did was when the authors submitted their text, we had sort of a systematic way of that we learned of getting the text down into that level 3-4. And what it amounted to was we usually needed to shorten the sentences. We definitely wanted to avoid long words. So when there were too many long words, we had to find other words to mean the same thing and try to limit those to mostly 2 and some 3-syllable words, which was really difficult depending on the topic that the authors selected to write about, because sometimes there's just no easy way to express something without a higher level word. So in that case, we had to shorten up some other things. We used very few blends and digraphs, and if we did, and we knew that these were going to be difficult words to decode, we specifically highlighted those. You can see this page has bolded words, and those are ones where there's an unusual pronunciation, like special, or where there's multiple blends. This treats has a consonant blend and a vowel blend. Anything that might trip up a learner, we kind of flagged those with this bold text. We did not allow any pronoun verb contractions. We did introduce some contractions, but not with pronouns. And as I said, the challenging vocabulary is in bold. Then we would go through the book, and all of the bolded words are listed at the top of the tutor tips on the very first page after the story ends. And so that provides a great tool for tutors to be able to go through a book and either have their learners self-select the bolded words that they're not familiar with and pre-teach those, work on those before the reading, or to, create some other writing and practice opportunities in your lesson based on some of these bolded words that might be challenging for that particular learner. And, we realize there's a broad range of ability with, someone picking up the book may not have learned the ED ending yet for past tense, but others may be familiar with it. So it was kind of a guessing game for us as to what was the most important word to bold in each book. We tried to use very common words so that we could help build a vocabulary for learners by using common English words, especially for ESL learners. We did not allow idioms, and we avoided using phrasal verbs in the books because those are very confusing. We stuck to simple present, past, future, and present perfect verb tenses throughout all of the 60 books. So that's an opportunity for teaching as well. And between the pages inside the books, if we bolded a word on a particular page, we would try to provide opportunities where that word is repeated on subsequent pages to allow learners to practice a new word in different sentences in different contexts. And we tried very hard, as Lisa said, to provide really specific correlation between the photos and the images. You can see in this one, there is a folded piece of paper in the photo. Inside, you can see a little corner of some dollar bills, and each photo actually tells its own little story and relates very directly to the text below. So we've mentioned tutor tips a few times, and we'll show you what those look like in just a minute. But basically, they're grouped so that you can kind of do some pre-teaching, pre-reading by, as Lisa said, talking about the cover, activating, background knowledge. What does your learner know about this topic? In the handbag journey, they may not even know what a handbag is if they're used to calling things a purse, but you can talk about that. In certain countries, they call it a handbag. Older generations might call it a handbag. You can just have a casual conversation about any aspect of the cover photo or the title and get the learner to start thinking about what they know about this topic and how it relates to their own life or their own knowledge. And all of that helps learners, be more successful when they read the book, predicting what the story might be about, even making up a sentence about that first photo and see if they're accurate after they've read the story. The tutor tips and the vocabulary lists, as I said, are very helpful for teaching vocabulary and will help the learner with fluency the first time they read the book if they've practiced those difficult words. And all of that will increase their comprehension. And, the goal is for these books to be read independently as pleasure reading books, but we realize that most people will be introduced to the books by library staff or a tutor. So hopefully after a little bit of familiarity with the vocabulary, a learner could take that home and enjoy reading it pretty successfully on their own. After the reading, the tutor tips can be used to gauge comprehension. We've provided tons of different activities to practice vocabulary, grammar, spelling, phonics, and to use it as a springboard to do different types of activities for learners writing. And we'd really encourage people to in the tutor tips, we've designed them so that learners have an opportunity to speak, listen, and read and write as they use each book. So this is what the tutor tips look like. And usually we have about 1 to 2 pages of them. Typically, there's 3 or 4 or 5 things you could do before reading the book. You can see at the top of this page, the vocabulary words that were in bold are all listed in the order that they appear in the book. So a learner can scan through the book and point out the ones that are difficult, or they can just work through these with a tutor and identify the ones they don't know. You can, we have many, many tutor tips that include creating flashcards or making lists and writing definitions to give learners plenty of practice with any vocabulary that's difficult. Excuse me. And then normally after the first few that are before reading activities, we include after reading activities. So that's where you would be, talking about general knowledge, relating it to something they know, and then having them maybe launch into a writing exercise based on the combination of what they've learned and what they knew. Also, we have many that include a KWLN chart where they can write down in advance what they know about the topic, then write down what they learned after the reading, and then identify things they want to continue to learn about that topic if they're still interested. These are the actual tutor tips from the handbags journey. And again, it helps build general knowledge, vocabulary, speaking skills, because you're talking about many things, spelling and grammar and writing skills. And in these level 3, 4 books, we added more topics in the tutor tips that encourage critical thinking, which we didn't do so much in the level 1, 2 books. So for online learning, many tutors and learners are working remotely now. And so much more, technology has been introduced, especially since 2020. A lot of people don't go to the library every time they meet their learner. So it really depends on the skill set of your learner and the technology that's available. But some things you could do if you are working remotely is you could set up a Zoom meeting or meet in person once and show a learner how to access the books online, which we're doing with you, and using links to either view them in Mixbook or through ProLiteracy on a PDF, and soon on BiblioBoard, they can look at them online as ebooks. ProLiteracy, they can look at them as ebooks as well. So there's many ways now that they can access these books for free electronically. With the PDFs, they can be sent to a learner's phone. Most learners do have some type of a smartphones now. So have your learners, practice this so that they're comfortable using the links or the platform that you choose, and demonstrate it for them and give them plenty of practice so that to encourage them to access the books on their own. In a small group or a classroom, the books can be projected on a screen, or learners can take turns reading different pages from a book. I know Kathy, even in mid-project, she was teaching the ESL class, and she would say, "Oh, I'm going to test this out on my learners tonight." So she would take the books in and share them with her class and get feedback. And oftentimes we would make changes to the book based on the feedback from her ESL class. So we took great pains to make sure that they're very accessible. This is an example of what the book would look like to a learner if you sent a PDF to them. They can open this. I just turned my screen on my phone to the sideways, and it fits beautifully. It's as clear as any other version you would look at. So you really can use a phone, something that simple, with the PDF versions of these books. And the ProLiteracy and BiblioBoard will have downloadable PDFs for you. So as I've said many times, ProLiteracy Education Network has the whole collection of many other things besides these books. It's comprehensive. It's overwhelming how much is on that website. But the resources there for programs and ESL instructors and staff and learners are prolific. We do have a handout if you aren't familiar with navigating that Education Network website. We'll have a handout on how to navigate to these books. It's in a section for student resources under pleasure reading. And so that's where you would be able to view the books. And for instance, if you are meeting your learner on FaceTime or through Zoom or something, you could share your screen, or you can download a PDF and be able to write on a lot of times learners like to make notes, and you could download a PDF, print it out, and use it if you're meeting in person, or you can send a PDF. And ProLiteracy, we're very excited as part of this project. They have committed to translating the books into Spanish. And so right now they're in the process of uploading these 60 books that we've done at level 3-4. And we're about 2/3 the way through the final proofing there, and with ProLiteracy, BiblioBoard as well. So we're hoping to get those all wrapped up in perfect shape to release online by the end of August. So all 108 books will be available for free on the Lyrasis Palace Project. So I want to clarify that, because Lyrasis is the parent company of Palace Project. They purchased Palace Project, which also is part of, or BiblioBoard is part of, the Palace Project. And many libraries do subscribe to that Palace Project and has BiblioBoard as a resource for card-holding library patrons. But there is a portion of the BiblioBoard website that is called Open Access, and they have graciously allowed us to upload all of the books, the original 108 books plus the 60 that we are currently finishing. And all of those will be available on the BiblioBoard website. and they will be completely free. You don't have to have an account. You don't have to have a subscription through your library. You don't even have to have a library card. And so we have a very preliminary handout for you to access that site through the Open Access portal. And it's just designed at this point because we don't have our link live yet. That handout is designed for you to go in if you aren't familiar and just get used to the navigation of looking into the different collections that are available in the open access portal, which is where our level 1, 2, and 3, 4 collections will reside. Once we go live with those links, we will be sending out just a single link that will connect you to that whole collection. And then you can see all of the titles based on the level. There's 2 categories. When you click on 1, 2, you'll see 108 titles. When you click on 3, 4, you'll see all of the 60 most current. And some of the really great things that we want to point out about the BiblioBoard site is that first of all, it's free and it's very accessible and much easier to navigate maybe for learners and tutors than the pro literacy site because it's so dense. But they have accessibility tools right on the page. So if you're looking at a page, you can increase the font size. They have a open font for dyslexic readers available that you can click on. And CLLS website will be posting the link for that as well. So on the CLLS website, we currently have the links, like Lisa showed you that list that has the title of the book with a link to mixed book, and then it has the genre and it has the description. They will also be posting the BiblioBoard access link where you can go through CLLS to get to it as well. And they'll be sending that out to library directors through the listserv. And also on the BiblioBoard site, there will be downloadable PDFs so that you can use the content when you're not online. Okay, so Cassandra is going to finish up with a few last slides.
And
Oh,
actually,
sorry.
while
No,
we're making that transition, do you?
sorry, I didn't realize I still had mixed book. I apologize.
Yeah, and we also want to make it very, very clear, and maybe you plan to talk about this
Mhm.
about next book, Marilyn, but we as a project team, the Sacramento Library, the State Library, nobody is making any money on on this. Our intent is to have all of these books available for free. That we want to disseminate them as widely as possible. The cost on Mixbook goes absolutely 100% to the production of the book. So please know that this is not a money-making project. And also that the copyright, no project member teams, no authors hold the copyright. So it is I think it's the State Library.
Yes.
The copyright.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks. And yes, Kathy pointed out that the Mixbook is an on-demand printer. The reason we chose Mixbook is because we wanted the libraries to have an opportunity to purchase the books for their circulating collection and for their adult new readers to have on the shelves to check out and to read it when they're with their tutors in the library. But again, as Kathy said, our goal, and it was written into the grant application, was that we wanted these books to be accessible as widely as possible for free. So we really never had the intention that anyone other than the authors, for personal use might get a kick out of having a published book, but we never expected any other purchasing to happen except through libraries. And so we have created a very extensive instruction sheet in the handouts that we'll be giving you, detailing what you should do if you're in a position at your library to purchase the books. I strongly encourage you to read it very thoroughly and feel free to reach out if you have questions. The reason I am encouraging you is because they have a really excellent discount program. And for instance, we were able to purchase all 60 books for about $800. And that might have even been 2 sets. I can't remember. But for programs, the best thing to do is to make sure you're ordering at least 10 books at a time, if not more. The discount is based on volume, so you have to reach that level of 10, but it doesn't have to be 10 of the same book. It can be a mixed case. So anytime you reach 10 in your cart, or however many you have, then you will reach out to their volume discount department, and they will give you a link for a coupon. Normally, it exceeds the amount that they're offering the general public, and also includes free shipping most of the time. So you can save quite a bit off of what you're seeing in the regular interface on the website if you work with their volume discount team, following the directions that we've taken a lot of time to really detail for you in advance. The books can be looked at via PDF. Mixbook does not have a PDF link, but as we've said, ProLiteracy and BiblioBoard both do. But you can preview the books online before ordering, which is nice. Let me back up one bullet. When you access the books via PDF, the list, I read that wrong. The list that Lisa showed you is a PDF, and it has a list of all the titles. When you click on those title links, that takes you to Mixbook. I got my wires crossed. The preview of the book online is a nice feature. You can even use that with your learner if that's the easier way for you to look at a book. Kathy has used that quite a bit in her with her classroom, and you can just expand the screen to kind of block out all the advertising and so forth. And you can just click arrow through the pages to advance the pages. So it's a true preview feature, and purchasers probably would want to look at the books before they buy. So again, as Kathy said, there is no profit. It's a transaction. It's a retail transaction between the library and Mixbook. And that is it.
And we do, in that list, we do provide a little 1 to 2 sentence summary of what the book is about. So because if the title isn't sufficient, and I did just want to show you, this is a hard back book that came, and they really are, I came home from vacation to see the books, and I just thought, oh my gosh, they're just beautiful. So they are costly because they're photo books, but they're really high quality. And you mentioned that you can get them in soft cover as well as hard.
Oh, thank you. No, I didn't mention that, but thank you.
If you want to keep the cost down. We have suggestions in the instruction for the kind of paper and cover, and because we know that for most libraries and programs, durability is a major factor. So, and the other thing is that we forgot to mention, you probably noticed how colorful all the book covers are when we were doing that part of the presentation. All of the low-level books, the books that we wrote a couple of years ago at levels 1 and 2, they're all white. And we wanted a subtle way to distinguish between the different leveled books. And so we decided this time that all the books would have colored and colorful covers to distinguish them from the low-level books.
Hey. Cassandra's going to finish up with our last few slides, and then we'll have a few minutes, hopefully, for some question and answer.
All right. Yes, it looks like we're a little ahead of time, which is great. So based on what you've seen and learned today, think about how your library or literacy program would use these books. Or if you have experience with the level 1 to 2 books, you can also consider that and share that. And you can share any thoughts in the chat.
And we can also stop sharing for a second, and we can see people's smiling faces if they would like. And I would like to take this opportunity to introduce everybody to the keen-eyed, eagle-eyed, very, very special proofreader that we were so privileged to have. Carol McCarthy is with us here today. And we, as I said, we wanted the books to be as perfect as possible. And you would never imagine how many times each of these books are read, but many times it was Carol who found the stray comma or the funny spacing. And so we are eternally grateful to Carol for her contributions to the project. So has anybody, I know that Read Santa Clara, if Karen, picking on Karen, but how have others used the books, or do you think you might use the books, either online or in print?
I know some programs have used them for book clubs, kind of putting together little sets based on themes, and then you can kind of develop more of that vocabulary and background knowledge and everything on the same topic using multiple books.
I love that.
Good. And Barb is looking to purchase a set for the library collection at the main branch. Great.
Terrific.
Yes, we Sacramento will be adding a set, at least one set, to the public collection, and we have a few different branches of our 28 that house other adult new reader collections, and so we'll add them to those.
And what we do know from the library feedback from those who have purchased the levels 1 and 2 books for their circulating collections, we know that not just learners and tutors are using these books. We have anecdotal evidence that other folks have been checking out the books and using the books as well. So that's couldn't be happier about that.
From the first project that we did, Kathy and I did several webinars with Cassandra, and we gathered a very long list because it was multiple webinars and different audiences too. We had adult education teachers, we had tutors, a lot of different audiences. And so we have a full page of programming ideas that we collected, and they're absolutely usable for this level 3-4. They were designed during the level 1-2 project, but they're all transferable to the level 3-4.
And Chandara, I think you had your hand up. Did you want to share something?
Yes, hi, thank you, Kathy. Yeah, just a little bit want to share. So at Corona Public Library, we already like purchased the grade 1 and grade 2 for picture books. And recently we plan to buy more for the intermediate levels. So what we have been trying to use this picture book so far is so from the last school year, we already like created what we call the new reader book club. So the reason we have such kind of book club is to, invite and also give more opportunities to moms, dad, grandpa, and grandmas who bring in a little kid coming to use our what we call the homework center services. So normally we provide kind of like services, like tutoring services to those little kids who are having like questions on mathematics, science kind of things. And then, while they keep like waiting for those little kids until they finish their homework, so they have an opportunity to do a reading for at least like 1 hour. So during that time, they, one stone for two birds. I mean, little kids they can finish their assignment, and grandpa, grandmas, and moms, they also have opportunity to finish, 1 or 2 books per that 1 hour. And that is the reason why we like that picture book so much. Second thing is about like at the library so far during the weekdays, we notice like there's like kind of growing numbers of our young adults and adults with learning disabilities. Those people they show up around the library quite often. I would say during the weekdays we have around like 100 to 150s. And we create kind of like picture books collection as a part of the entire literacy collections. And with the support of what we call it, I would say technology and like assistive technology, is that we're using what we call the scanner reader pens. I mean, like they can use that pen to, to read those picture books. By the time they touch on that pictures books, like chunk by chunks of the words, and then it's going to read out loud. So that's how, it can be used not only by those who have kind of like kind of unique learning disabilities, but also for our non-native speakers who'd like barely start to learn how to read English, because currently we're also serving the ESL students as well. Yes, thank you.
Thank
That's
you for sharing that. I love the whole intergenerational aspect, and the books are indeed great for those with learning disabilities because they are so literal. Many, many things. Thank you. And Karen.
Hi, Chandra, that was great. And I wanted to focus on something on the other side of the equation for the tutors. This was sort of unexpected, but I just think the books are brilliant in terms of using it for tutor training, especially for brand new tutors. If you look at one single book and grab the tutor tips and they can look through it, I feel like it almost distills our whole tutor training curriculum just in one quick glance. That's so accessible for the tutors to sort of understand whether they're using the specific adult new reader books or maybe just any book, that they can really see sort of some guidelines or some best practices on how to tutor and how to get started. And so it's so accessible in that way. But anyway, what a celebration today. I just am so excited for this team. And when I heard Lisa say hours and hours and hours, I thought, oh my gosh, you could probably add in another 10 or 20 or 50 hours and commas in that for each of you who have been editing and sourcing photos and writing tutoring tips and all of it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Karen. And boy, that is so cool. What has just amazed us is all of the unintended uh additions or byproducts that this project, we really started off to be tiny, and then it is just, as people have learned about it and been enthusiastic about it, it has just grown and grown. And we've had refugee centers use the books for helping pregnant women not to be afraid of delivering their babies in hospitals. There was a wonderful book about how a couple delivering a baby in a hospital and in the first book. So, all of these things just makes us just so happy. So, and I know we're at time, so we should probably go back to the slides. Thank you so much for sharing your comments. It's really helpful. And we just want to end. Cassandra's got, I think, one more slide for us.
Oh, yep. Mhm.
All right. Yes. So Andrea will be sending all of these handouts that are listed here out to everyone after the webinar. And when we have everything ready.
Yes. By the end of the
let's see.
week.
Yeah. Okay. So are there still any questions that people have?
And we know that some of you need to go, and thank you so much for coming. We know how busy you are and that this is summertime. And so we really appreciate you coming and spending today with us.